Thank you so much, Alicia. Let's hear it for Alicia, huh? Yeah, baby. Hey, thanks for letting me be here with you this morning. I thought I would start by telling you a story that I experienced in direct sales. It's the best close I've ever had in my life. In 1979, I was selling aluminum siding for the All Good Construction Company here in the Triad. Windows, replacement doors, all that stuff. Anyway, so I'm the number 3 closer in the company. I'm 23 years old. I don't have a house. I have no idea what siding is. And now I'm meeting with a couple in Burlington, North Carolina, and I'm hot. I am closing about 60% of the people that I meet. And so I walk up to this house, and as I walk up to this house, the man comes out of the house, and he's got a pad in his pocket. And he pulls his pad out, and he writes down, "I can't hear, and I can't speak." If I had a pad in my pocket, I would have written a note and said, "Uh-oh. It's going to be a long 2 hours." And as I went in the home, I met his wife, and she had the same situation. In fact, they had a coffee table laid out with pads and pencils. And so I'm like, I'm not going to let this defeat me yet. And so I take the customer out, we measure the house, we come back in. And the way that the sales process goes, you start with a big number, and then you try to add value and come down to a price that we all agree on. Well, by a certain time in the conversation, Mrs. Customer Prospect was not interested. She was sitting, she was sitting like this. And she was paying no attention to us whatsoever. And I was like, this is the end of the deal. And so I'm just going to give the very best price that I can. So I pulled out a pad. There are a lot of them around. I pulled out a pad and I wrote down my price and I handed it to the husband. He looked at it and he made a move like, hey, this is going to be a good deal. And so he took his foot on the floor and went like this to get his wife's attention because she's sitting like this. And she is not paying any attention to us. And so she tapped his foot a little harder. And she was like, and so me, closing, I went like this. She jumped out of her chair and in midair signed the contract. So many of you talked about the idea of changing the way you think. Has anybody seen the movie The Secret before? What did you learn from that movie?
Think positively and positively.
Great. Think good thoughts, bring good things into your life. Absolutely. Who else saw it? What did you learn from the movie?
The world is abundant.
Abundance. Absolutely. It is abundant. What else? What else? Liz, please.
Or positive you attract.
I say that again?
Negative or positive you attract.
Exactly. Exactly. So the secret is about the law of attraction. Okay? The law of attraction. And we're not talking about attraction between, people. We're talking about attracting things into your lives. That's what we're talking about today. And so my book is called Strategies for Cats. And the story is actually about my cat, Kitty. And I'm not a cat lover. In fact, this cat will not really let me pet her. I've never held her in my lap. She's never been a loving cat to me whatsoever. There's no good reason that I should have inherited this cat and kept her in my home for the last 12 years. But I have. And see, when she was out in that sewer in front of my home, she thought her way into our house. She used her mind to manipulate all these people. I'm tall. I can drive a car. How is it that a cat can have power over me? And so I thought about this. And after 10 years, I wrote this book called Strategies for Cats. And it's a story about a cat named Kitty. And it's a heartwarming story. And actually, the story about Kitty is true. She is living with me, and I'm thankful for that. So I'm going to step through some stuff with you, and I apologize to those on the edges. I'll do my best to describe what we're talking about today. So, Strategies for Cats. It will be available on Amazon, Kindle, and Audible in March. So we hope that you will take advantage of that.
If y'all need to get up and move where you can see, feel free to do that if you can't see the screen.
Thank you. Thank you, Alicia. Okay, so what we're going to talk about today is your subconscious mind. Okay? We're going to talk about your subconscious mind. We're going to talk about how it works. We will talk about how to feel good. A lot of folks don't know that, how to feel good. And we'll also talk about how to ask your subconscious mind questions. It is the smartest thing you have going for you. And then some of the strategies from Strategies for Cats to help you sell more stuff this year, to give you that jump start. So let's talk about your subconscious mind. Here's my question. How many of you have a subconscious mind? Let me see a show of hands. Well, I'd be surprised the number of people that I've asked that question and they're not aware of their subconscious mind or what it can do. I met a young lady who's a friend of my wife, a friend of my daughter, and she asked this question. She said, I'm always going to be this size. I'm always going to look this way for the rest of my life. And I looked at her and I said, as long as you keep saying that, you will. Change the way you think. So how do you do that? And that's what we're going to go about during today. First of all, I'd like to tell you what's the difference between your conscious brain and your subconscious mind. Believe it or not, you're currently using your sight, your sound, your vision, your smell, your taste, represents 5% of your brain power. 5%. And that's it. No more. So the other 95% of your brain is dedicated to this thing called your subconscious mind. 95%, not 20% or 30%, practically all of it. So let's talk about the difference between the two. Your conscious brain can do 1 to 3 things at the same time. You're listening and you're writing stuff down. That's 2 things. Think of a third. I'm chewing gum. All right, that's 3. Can't do 4. All right? Can handle 1 to 3 things at the same time. The ability to reason or make decisions, that's what happens in your conscious brain. You can decide things. Impulses travel at 120 to 140 miles an hour, can process 2,000 bits of information a second, which is not a lot. And the average attention span of your conscious brain is 22 seconds. 22 seconds. That's why when you read a book, they have lines. So you always have to pay attention. So that's your conscious brain. Let's talk about your subconscious mind. Expanded processing capacity. This is where your creativity is. Who in this room is creative? Okay, who's the most creative? Okay, Alicia's the most creative. Do you agree with that? Why is she more creative? Yeah. Oh, excuse me. I wasn't pointing at you, I was pointing at her. Why is Alicia more creative? Is she more creative than you? Really? No? Don't answer the question the way you think I want you to answer it. No, she is creative. But where does your creativity come from? Subconscious. Exactly. And the ability to pull that off. That's where all your values are. Your mom and dad gave you your values. I remember talking to my dad on the phone. You want to get a good job, Bill? Remember, if you learn to type, you'll have something to fall back on. There's a positive thought, isn't it? Man, I can type 150 words a minute, too. I'm that good. All right? So that's where your values and your habits. And habits is something that you'll learn a lot when you read Strategies for Cats. It can manage over thousands of events simultaneously. Your subconscious mind is doing thousands of things right now for you. And it works at 100,000 miles an hour, processes at 4 billion bits a second, and unlike your conscious brain, it's always on, 24/7. It never stops paying attention to who you are and what you're doing and what you want in your life. And just so you know, it's just like Liz said, your subconscious brain doesn't know right from wrong. It doesn't know good from bad. It doesn't know positive. It doesn't know negative. It only knows what you're thinking about. That's it. Fun story, fun story. In the beginning of our book, we have a cat. Her name is Kitty. And Kitty's always hungry. And all of a sudden, she discovers she can talk to her subconscious mind. And her subconscious mind convinces Kitty that she can get whatever she wants as long as her subconscious mind is persuaded and understands what she wants. And Kitty says, I don't want to be hungry anymore. I don't want to be hungry anymore. That's what she asked her subconscious mind. That's the law of attraction. Ask, believe, and receive. And so her subconscious mind is called the voice in the book. She goes, your wish is my command. Go out and get whatever you're asking for. So our cat goes out into this field, supposedly filled with mice, and there's nothing there. She comes back continuing to be hungry. And so she sarcastically asks her subconscious mind, hey, I told you I didn't want to be hungry. And guess what? Your subconscious mind doesn't know the word don't. It doesn't know the word don't. All it's hearing is hunger. Hunger. And so the voice says, I'm giving you what you're asking for. You're asking for hunger, I'm giving you more. An abundance of hunger. And so when she changed the way she asked for something, guess what she got? Food. Food. Simple idea. So your subconscious mind is always on 24/7. So why in the world would you not team with your subconscious mind? When you put those two things together, your conscious mind and your subconscious mind, that's where miracles can start to happen. Some examples of your subconscious brain. Here we go. You ready? Remember the first time you learned to drive? I remember my dad taught me how to drive. And when you put your foot on the gas, the car moved. When you put your foot on the brake, it stopped. You thought about everything you did when you first learned to drive, right? Now it's easy. In fact, have you gone places before? You say, man, how did I even get here? That's normal. I always talk about this. When I was a kid growing up, I don't know if you have ever used Head & Shoulders shampoo. But if you read the instructions on Head & Shoulders, it says, lather, rinse, repeat. How many of you washed your hair before and then turned around and washed your hair? Completely forgot you did it. And the answer is your subconscious mind is doing it, right? Yes, love your hair, see? So now you can even text and drive, which please don't do that. That's two things, okay? Listening to the radio, three things. Here's another example. When you've decided on your dream car, and a lot of you talk about your dream car being a Cadillac, why is it all of a sudden when you have it in your brain, you see your dream car everywhere? It's everywhere. You know, I was in the building next door and I walked down and I saw 3 pink Cadillac Escalades. Wow, that's exciting. But it's real. But sometimes people look at those things and say, well, I'll never get those things. And guess what? If you repeat those things to yourself over and over, you will not get them. You might be all by yourself in a room. No one can hear you. And you might say, oh, I'll never get there. Guess what? You won't. Okay? So we want to talk about changing that type of thought. Okay. And we want to start changing that thought. And, okay. Oops, excuse me. Hold, please. All right. That's the car we're all thinking about. There it is, right? I wondered why you didn't react when I pushed the button. I was just pushing the button. Okay, we want one of those, right? Okay, so here's an example of how your subconscious mind is not partnering with you, and that's your New Year's resolution. I'm going to get fit, right? How many times have we done that every year about this time of year saying, I'm going to get fit? My son came to me last night. Dad, I want to take up a part of the garage and put up some barbells. No! Why? Because every time we move, I'm moving the barbells out of the garage. He doesn't use them. But for some reason, in January, it's a good idea. Okay? This is what the gyms look like in January. They're packed. Right? But too often what happens is you make a decision you're going to do something, but you didn't change the way you think. You didn't see yourself in the mirror as a 120-pound magnet. Okay? In other words, that's why people go to the gym to get thin. I'm trying to, but you get the point. So in March, because you haven't convinced your subconscious mind, you're by yourself if you want to go to the gym. You see what I'm saying? In other words, you have to team with your brain to get what you want. And you have to be clear what it is that you do want. Correct? You have to ask for it the right way. So, team with your subconscious brain. That's where miracles happen. You know, when we sit around and look at what Alicia's done as a national sales director, and then you hear folks saying, I'm 27, I'm national sales director. Kayla, that's quite attainable, isn't it? Absolutely. You see, the universe loves speed. The only person who might be holding you back from achieving that goal is you. And it's not because of just you, but it's because of the way you think about you. And I hate to break it to you, and I kind of revealed it earlier, but mom and dad have a lot to do with who you are. And I want to tell you about one thought that has no problems creeping into your brain. One thought, and that's poverty. If your parents grew up in the depression like my parents did, you hear about poverty all the time. Better hang on to that job. Get that government job. You'll be good. You'll be safe for life. Why? Why? But see, they taught me that, so you have to unteach it. You have to unteach it, and that takes an effort. And so how do you structure that effort to make it happen? So here's how it works. I've told you what I think is the power that you have, each one of you has, in your mind. And by the way, everything you did yesterday has no impact on your ability to change today. So what we're talking about here is, how does it work? How do I know if I believe in myself, if I can repeat to myself often enough what I want in my life? How does it happen? How do we make it happen? And so here's how it works. And the answer is, we really don't know how it works. Okay? But when you think about it, when you plug in something into the wall, like the power that you're hearing me use this, DJ can't tell you why it works. DJ can't say, oh, the power in the wall works because of the way that protons or neutrons or some guy at a power plant or what. He can't explain it. It just works. It's the same with the internet, isn't it? Do you have to know how the internet works to just use it? The answer is you don't. If you had to know how everything worked before you used it, well, you wouldn't have a whole lot going for you in terms of your life. So how does your subconscious mind work? Same idea. Same way as the power, same way as the internet. It just does. When you believe in your subconscious mind and its ability to help you get where you want to go, that's when the miracle happens. That's when you move from consultant to director. That's when you move from director to national sales director, and so on. And so on. This is not my cat, but you can get the idea. It says, here's a cat in front of a computer. And it says, you don't have to know how something works to make it work for you. If you had to know how something worked before you decide to use it, your life would be quite limited. Even people, how do they work? You don't always have to know how they work. You just know they work. Okay? So that's kind of an idea of how your subconscious mind works. And so much of that is based on faith. Faith. Anybody know how to make faith? Let me tell you how to have faith. Anybody know how to make it? Take a stab at it. Lisa, you want to take a stab at it? How do you make it? How do you make it? You believe? Okay, remember those scenes of the gal in the fitness club in March. You have to change the way you think. The way to change the way you think is through repetition. Simple idea. Repetition. What's the one thing you want the most? What is it? Write it down. Okay? When you wake up from your long night's sleep, or if you're pregnant and you have lots of kids and you are always coming and going, read that one thing you want. And right before you go to bed, have it next to your bed. Read that thing again. Imagine going to bed and repeating one word. National. 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 Repeat that word until you fall asleep. Guess what you're doing? You're training your subconscious mind to think the way you think. Think the way you want to think. So, a big part of it is feeling good. Feeling good. So how do you feel good? Medication. There you go. By the way, we'll be doing tequila shooters at lunch. If you have a yellow sticker on your program, that entitles you to a tequila shooter. Super. There'll be an extra smile on your next Mary Kay paycheck. Okay, so let me ask you a question. Lisa, you want to say something? Smiling does. But the other part of it is the thoughts that you have in your mind. So how many thoughts do you have in a day? A zillion. That's a good number. How many thoughts do you have in a day? Anybody take a guess? How many thoughts in a day? I'm pointing at you. Yeah. Take a guess. 80,000. You're too high. Yes. It's 50,000. That's about the range. 50,000 thoughts. So in an 18-hour day, 65,000 seconds, how long does a thought last? A second or two, right? A second or two. And so the idea is if you think good thoughts, you get the good things. Think good thoughts, get good things. Think bad thoughts, that's right. I mean, how many people do we know in our lives that are always in trouble? They always have a problem. They're always around death. They're always around horrible things all the time. And they don't have an abundant life. They don't know why. It's because they think more negative thoughts than positive thoughts. So it's right. It's about 1.5 seconds, 1.3 seconds per thought. So the key thought is to have more positive thoughts than negative thoughts, and the idea is to feel good. Always feel good. Easier said than done. I met somebody a few weeks ago who was actually a beta reader just like Anna was. And she said, I want to tell you before we start, I'm the most negative person you've ever met in your life. I really got pumped up. You think about it. It takes you 10 years to write a book, and then the first person that reads it is a negative person. And so it's important to always feel good. Always feel good. So, if you have more good thoughts than bad thoughts, you get good things. So how can you tell if you're thinking good thoughts or bad thoughts? Anybody take a stab at that? How you feel. Let's hear it for your one tequila shooter just for you. Congratulations. Exactly, it's how you feel. If you feel good, you're thinking good thoughts. If you feel bad, then that's the way you feel, and you attract those bad things into your lives. Oh, I'll never become a national director. That's a bad thought. That's a bad thought. Always feel good. So, what does 50,000 bad thoughts look like? It's the guy on the interstate with the sign. All right, now he's just as creative as you are. He's got a brain just as powerful as yours, but he doesn't know how to use it. What does 25,000 good thoughts and 25,000 bad thoughts look like? And guys, get this. This is where most of America is. This is where most of America is. Mediocre. Just getting by. If I just had another 200 hours next week, I can make it through the month. Guess what's coming next month? Next month. Right? So, and by the way, here's Joe Beercan. I love this guy. You know, hey, because, every once in a while we're having a party and then I got to work. Okay? What's 50,000 thoughts look like? 50,000 good thoughts look like? A life filled with abundance. And one thing that's easy to do in sales, and we're all in sales, is we get this competitive feeling where somebody becomes a director and you're still a consultant, or somebody becomes a national director and you're just a director. And do you ever have that slight feeling of envy? Why do they get it and I don't get it? Man, get rid of that as soon as possible. Envy is one of the worst things you could possibly keep with you. If you're in love with somebody, you can't love them completely if you're walking around with envy for anybody else. Be happy for them. Be happy that they got that award. That's the way it works. It's attraction. So here's 2 ways to change the way you think in terms of good thoughts. First thing is know what your feel-good thought is. Know what your feel-good thought is. My feel-good thought is my grandson Wes when he was 3, reaching down and picking up a flower. Look, Grandpa, a flower. And then he goes, and look, there's a butterfly. How can you not feel good about that? So, what is your feel-good thought? And know what it is. Discover the habit of blocking bad thoughts with your feel-good thought. When you have that bad feeling go over you, stop yourself. Just stop yourself. What is your feel-good thought? You only need one to feel better about you. So discover the habit. We talk about in the book Strategies for Cats, which comes out in March on Amazon, Kindle, and Audible. We talk about how most of us have a thought habit. When we wake up every day, we have a thought. Is it a good one or a bad one? See? Is it a good one or a bad one? And by the way, thank you. Another tequila shooter for you. By the way, when you do wake up, by the way, your conscious brain and your subconscious brain are together. That is the closest they are, other than right before you fall asleep. And that is the best time to convey exactly what it is that you want. So block that bad thought with a good thought. And here's the other way to do it. I'll say, do this enough times, and your bad thoughts will soon vanish, and that's true. The other way to do it is manage what you allow into your mind. Who watches Fox News? Who watches Fox? Anybody watch Fox? Who watches the news? How about that? The news. You watch the news? Stop it! Stop it! Stop watching the news. Why? It's all stinking negative. That's why. Being in the radio business for 25 years, when somebody got killed in town, man, his listenership is up. Today in Goldsboro, somebody was killed. Stay tuned. See? It's bad. Murder's bad. Stop that. Listen to beautiful music. Get Success Magazine and listen to the CD in your car. Put positive things in your mind. You are the captain of your ship. Your conscious brain may only represent 5% of the power of your brain, but it controls everything that you expose your subconscious brain to. Good things or bad things. You're sitting here this morning with 140 positive thinking people. You could be, exactly, you could be somewhere else thinking the other thing. You chose to be here. You're the captain of your ship. You make the decision. Subconscious mind makes no decisions for you. And that's a key thought. So, how to ask your subconscious mind questions. Has anybody heard their subconscious mind speak to them? Yes? Yes. Well, it could be just you talking to you. Usually that's the case. When we're talking, having a conversation with ourselves, and someone will say, do you talk to yourself? No, I never talk to myself. Okay? Have you ever heard your subconscious voice before? Yeah. It doesn't happen all the time, but it's there. How to ask your subconscious mind questions. Why would you want to ask your subconscious mind a question? Because we're going to go back and talk about Alicia and you. Why she's more creative than you are. What would happen if you made a decision, I'm going to be a national sales director, okay? And you went to bed at night and you asked the question, how will I do this? How will this happen? That's the question. How will I become a national sales director? How? I don't know how. I just know I want it. So ask your subconscious mind that question. And go to sleep. Wake up. Ask the same question. Put that question out into the universe. Ask the question, get sleepy, concentrate. That's not my cat either. But it looks like Kitty, I'm telling you. It scratches all over me to prove it. So, how does your answer come to you? Have you ever been athletic? Have you ever done something where you're engaged in something and all of a sudden an idea comes to your mind? It's like, whoa, where'd that come from? That came from your subconscious mind. Somehow, some way, shape, or form, you asked a specific question. And out comes the answer when you least expect it. But it will come if you have faith in your mind and you believe in yourself. That's how it works. When you get an idea. Another way it happens is kind of like a nudge. You can't see this, but here's an elephant nudging a small elephant. A nudge. Something in your gut tells you this is the right thing to do. Why? It's because your subconscious mind is giving you the answer. And yes, occasionally you can hear that little voice. The hat, by the way, says, I do whatever the voices in my head tell me to. That's what the hat says. I heard, the first time I recall ever hearing my subconscious mind was about 10 years ago. I'm 60, and we were having some situation with my son, Phil. And I swear to goodness, I was laying in bed, and all of a sudden I heard 3 words. Support your son. Support your son. That's me speaking to me. So, when you hear a little voice. Albert Einstein was known for using a subconscious brain. All the great inventors have a way of asking the universe for questions and getting their answers. The guy that invented radio, Marconi, used his subconscious mind to come up with the invention. So, how to ask questions of yourself, get answers from the universe. Now here are some strategies for cats that maybe will help us in our sales process. Make a decision. Make a decision. That's, by the way, is strategy number 11 in Strategies for Cats, being released on Amazon, Kindle, and Audible in March of this year. Thank you very much. Okay? Make a decision. All right? Have you gone through life and not made a decision? I am not going to do that. I'm going to think about it for a while. Make a decision. Sometimes even if it's wrong, make a decision. When you make a decision, something will happen. And if you are a student of the law of attraction, when you make a decision and you decide what you want and you think you're going to attract this all into your life, that's when it's time to take action and get what it is that you want and do the things. In the book we talk about move your paws. Okay? But make a decision. And so when we talk about you guys are putting stuff down in writing, one of the decisions you might make is how much you want to make this year. I believe in income is one thing, but also what you want is more powerful. Okay? So if you can define what you want not by money, but by something, that's more powerful. You know, instead of I want $80,000, say I want a Cadillac Escalade. That's powerful. Okay? Put that image of that Cadillac Escalade in front of you at your home. Put it on your phone. Remind yourself of what you want. But make a decision to do it first. Here's another strategy. Use your thoughts the right way to get the things you want. Use your thoughts the right way to get the things you want. Your subconscious mind, as we said earlier, does not know the word don't. Okay? Maybe you walk around and say, I don't want to be bad. I don't want to be bad. Well, guess what you're telling your subconscious brain? I'm bad. Right? So you have to be clear about what it is that you want. And you've got to use the right words to get what it is that you want. What is a goal that some of you might want this year right now as we're talking about it? What would be an example of a goal? A trip to Italy. That's not hard to write down, is it? It's not hard to write down. What would be yours? Okay, quit your job. So think about, instead of the phrase quit your job, think about Mary Kay full time. Okay? Because when you think about quitting your job, you're also thinking about your job. So instead, keep it short. Keep it short. What else? What would be another example?
Cadillac. Pink Cadillac.
Pink Cadillac. Fine. Know what you want and ask for it the right way. Here's another strategy. Take something apart. And for those of you who can't see it, there's a cat sitting next to an elephant. And the expression is, even a cat can eat an elephant one spoon at a time. Okay? Jobs that seem to be impossible because they're so big. Jobs that seem to be impossible because you have no idea how it will come together. First of all, make the decision that you want to do it. The how part, how to do it, that comes later. If you're one of those people that has to know how something is done before it gets done, guess what? Never get done. You don't now have to know how to do it to get it for you. So take something apart. If it's too big, break it down into components. You can use a calendar if you want to, or you can use a system where, hey, I'm going to get one person this week to be a consultant for me, just one. After a year, that's 50. After 2 years, that's 100. After 3 years, that's 150, and so on. It breaks down to one a week. Make sense? It's not that hard. But if you limit yourself and say, I'll never do that, 300 people, that's impossible, guess what? It will always be impossible. And when we talk about abundance, there are people everywhere just like you, seeking an opportunity like you have. Take something apart if it looks like it's too big. Here is the strategy we've already talked about. You don't have to know how something works to make it work for you. This is definitely my cat, Try Again. In fact, when I wrote the chapter, Try Again, in my book, my editor rejected the chapter. She said, try again. Imagine going for something and you try and try and try and try and it doesn't work out for you, and then the last time you could try, you decide not to try, and so you quit. Keep trying. Sometimes your biggest gain in life comes immediately after your biggest defeat. Make sense? Try again. Strategy 7, stay away from negative cats. This goes back to the captain. This goes back to having control of what you allow into your mind. Is it good stuff? Is it bad stuff? Okay? If you're hanging around negative cats, and you know negative cats, you know what they look like, you know who they are. Some of us are related to them. All right? Just, just stay away from them. They're the ones that have a life based on lack and scarcity. I can tell you this story. It's a personal story, but I'll tell you this story for fun. A few years ago, my sister-in-law came to our home in Goldsboro. We had a beautiful home. And everything in her life was awful. 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 And so she comes in on Friday, it's lovely. Saturday's a lovely day. And then Sunday morning, here comes the awful stuff. We lost our house. She's a social worker. She helps families adopt kids. We just lost our house. One of the 2 kids we adopted ran away. We're living in my husband's rental home, and the people on the other side have guns and drugs. And I looked at her and said, you need to stop everything you're doing and watch this movie with me called The Secret. And I sat her down and we watched this movie, The Secret, together. Last year she was on the cover of a magazine about excellence in adoption for children. Last year she got her big home back. Last year her husband got an amazing job. Why? She changed the way she thinks. That's why. Stay away from those negative cats. And my last strategy for today is called positive prayer. Positive prayer. What do I mean by positive prayer? How often in our lives have we prayed to God the Father Almighty when something absolutely horrible is happening in our lives? And we pray to God and just continue to repeat all the horrible things that are happening in our lives right now. My spouse is drinking too much and can't keep a job, and what am I praying, what am I concentrating on? Drinking too much and can't keep a job. See what I'm saying? In other words, what you think about is what you bring about. Prayer is the only time that you can communicate directly with your subconscious mind and God. And God can do anything. So having positive prayer. Imagine praying and saying, I pray for a great sales day. That's not being greedy. God does not want you to not make a sale. I pray for a great sales day. I pray for a new consultant to come into my life. If you meet people who are doing things and how to develop leads, one of the things they talk about is attraction. You know, how do you get new customers? Think differently. Somebody is going to come into my life, and they're going to be my best client. How do I know this? Faith. I believe it. I believe it to be true. So positive prayer is incredibly powerful. Dr. Martin Luther King, Jr., this is my favorite phrase, talks about faith. Take the first step in faith. You don't have to see the whole staircase. Just take the first step. The how part will be revealed to you once you decide what it is that you want in your life. So that's my piece for you today. In the title of the book, it talks about changing the way you think and receive the abundance you deserve. And you all should receive an abundant life. It's just more fun. It's more pleasurable to have the food you want, the cars you want, the home you want, the family you want. And it's all based on what you've attracted in your life and the way that you think. This exciting book, by the way, is available on Kindle, Audible, and Amazon. Phil, you had a question? Okay, all right. So it's available in March. And by the way, as a thank you, well, I'm going to tell you about it. You read my mind. As a thank you, each of you will receive a one sheet. It'll have a little picture of my cat and all 22 strategies. So I'll send that to you by email. And so you'll get that. Also, there will be a date in March that will ask you to buy the book for 99 cents on Kindle. So we'll be selling the book for 99 cents on Kindle. And to learn more about Strategies for Cats, you can visit our Facebook page called Strategies for Cats. And if you'd like to connect with me, and by the way, just so you all know, if you can't tell, I'm shamelessly promoting my book. I apologize for that. But I am happy to do this for other places. If you want me to speak for you or you have a good-sized group, I'd love to come speak to you as a part of promoting my book. So I put that out to you. So if you want to connect with me, I've got a form you can fill out for me, and I'll send you the top 4 strategies for personal growth and financial success. Sounds familiar? Personal growth and financial success. I'll pick the top 4 strategies from the book and apply them to the Mary Kay mission of personal growth and financial success. So grab a sheet from me. It's called Connecting with Bill. Okay? Thank you all. Do you have any questions, or am I done? I'm done?
You're done, you're done.
I'm done. Thank you.
Woo! Yeah, give it up for Bill.